Hey folks, it's Frithgar here, how you doing? Welcome back to Farming Simulator 19 here in Boulder Canyon. I am of two minds today as to whether I should take that straw and sell it. I'm thinking no, because, I mean, it says 66. I'm not sure if 66 is a high point or a low point. I'm genuinely unsure at the moment. Wool is dropping, and dropping fairly rapidly. Eggs are on the way up. We're at 1,900 at the moment. And we have got a beautiful full pallet over there. The rest of it, we don't have very much yet. We've got, there, 1,300 in that one. And, yeah, 1,300 in that one. And then... was there more in another one? Yeah, there. That one's got 4,000 in it. So, yeah, we've got a little bit in there. Wool, we've got a reasonable amount, but it's dropping down at the moment, so we can't sell it. I'm hoping that it will come back up before these fill up, because there's actually quite a bit of wool already here, and we're going to end up running out of space. We'll have to have some spare pallets or something. I've been wondering about this, what to do when we get to the point where we're sort of running out of space. But anyway, the key thing that I want to do today is get some stump grinding done. We sold a whole load of timber. We're up to $80,000, which is a pretty good amount of money, but we're going to need more than that. We either want to get the cows or the pigs next. Actually, well, I'd like to get the cows next, is what I'd actually like to get. I'd like to start getting cows. Yes, it would be absolutely great to go and get more sheep. We could just buy in more sheep right now and really boost those up and then really start being able to profit from the wool that we're getting. However, I would prefer to branch out and start building up numbers in cattle and also pigs as well. We're not ready for pigs yet. We don't have the food for them, but cows we do. We've got hay. We can always just give them plain grass to start with if we want to. And then we can start giving them some other crops as we go along. But for now, we want to get this field finished. That's got to be our main priority at the moment, is getting this field finished. And so that's what we're going to do. And in order to be able to do that, we need to do a little bit of stump grinding. And when I say a little bit of stump grinding, unfortunately, I mean we've got several acres of stump grinding that we've got to do. But at least we've got a nice view up here. We've got some nice trees on the riverbank over there. See, I'm sure you're all very pleased about the trees on the riverbank. I know that a lot of you were saying that we really do need to have trees. We've got to replace some of these trees that we've been chopping down, because otherwise we're going to be coming to grief from the... Well, I thought it was EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, but apparently that's a federal thing that is more for, well, I didn't quite get what it was for, or I've forgotten, one or the other, but yeah, that's more of a big scale thing, and for small stuff like this, you have local versions of it, something like that. I'm not quite sure. It's a job to understand, like, the bureaucracy of how everything works sometimes with the various different government departments for the US, because it's such a big country, and each state is sort of run almost like a separate country at times. You have overall... basically, the US is the same as the EU. You've got individual state members who have their own rules and interpretation of the law. You have some laws that extend across everything, and then you have others where... the laws differ quite considerably from one state to the next. And that's much the same as it is here in Europe with the EU. Although the UK is leaving the EU, so I'm not quite sure what that's going to mean for us afterwards. But that's neither here nor there, really. It doesn't really come into it. The only real difference, I think, is that... well, I don't know, like the whole EPA thing. Anyway, I did talk about it a little bit last week, EPA, with, and I know that it's called EPA, because of The Simpsons movie, and a lot of you knew that reference, the whole EPA, and it's not EPA. Several people pointed out that it's not EPA, it's EPA. That's how I'm supposed to pronounce it. because otherwise it's just wrong. It's just wrong. But yeah, so the crazy old man in church was right. There is actually an EPA. That's what it's all there. It's all written in the Simpsons movie. It's like a vision of the future. That's what it really is. It's like a vision of the future. But anyway, let's not worry about the visions of the future from the Simpsons. Crumbs. So, some of the visions of the future are quite frightening, really, when you think about it. And I was talking about Simpsons a bit last week, and I was saying that I've watched, I really love it, but I've only really watched the first 12 seasons, something like that. 10 to 12 seasons or something. And it was pointed out that there's something like 36 to 40 seasons of Simpsons now. So I may be just a tiny little bit behind on my Simpsons viewing. Just a smidgen, you think? Yeah. It's on my to-do list. Catching up with The Simpsons is definitely on my to-do list. It's something that I'm sort of wondering how I could go about doing it without having to buy every single season. I'm sure there are websites around where I'd be able to find a lot of seasons. I did have a look on YouTube, but there's not that much. Most of them are in pretty poor condition because they're not supposed to be there. So you can either buy them all, or you've got to find somewhere to watch. And I did find a website where I was watching them, and it was really good. Like, they were all in perfect condition, and everything was wonderful, and I was watching my way through quite a few of them. But then the website changed, and it was a little bit more difficult to load up, and it started getting all sorts of unsuitable adverts, shall we say. And so I stopped doing that. Because as soon as it sort of switched over to that, I sort of thought, well, yeah, that's just asking for trouble. I'm going to end up with something really nasty lodged into my computer somewhere, and I didn't really want that. So, yeah, I've now got to find a new website that does actually stream The Simpsons episodes. And there are a few around. I suspect, though, unfortunately, that if I actually do want to watch all of them for free, I've either got to subscribe to some TV channel somewhere and pay them a boatload of money for it, or I've just got to buy all of the Simpsons digitally, all the Simpsons, all of the seasons. I don't think the actual Simpsons themselves are for sale. I got to buy the content digitally or buy the discs and do it that way. Which, I suppose is fair enough. There's a lot of work gone into making them and so on and so forth. It's just, unfortunately, I don't have the money to buy that many seasons of anything. So it could be a slow process, this whole catching up thing. I think we're spoiled with YouTube these days. You get things like Netflix, and there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of series different programs that you can watch on Netflix, and it's absolutely wonderful because you pay a relatively small subscription and you get a huge amount of content for what you pay for. All these films and television series and all sorts that you can watch without having to pay very much money at all. And yeah, you do have to pay some money, but you don't pay very much. In the grand scheme of things, the subscription rate for Netflix is minuscule, and so that's what I really like about Netflix. But then when you sort of start going, it's great because you can sort of flick through and you can find there are quite a large variety of different things that you can watch on there. But, and there's the big but, if there is something specific that you're after, it may not necessarily be there. Sometimes it is, like there are films that I really like, and I hardly see them, or I never see them on Netflix, and very occasionally they will turn up, and I sort of think, oh, this is great, and then so you've got to watch it there and then because it doesn't actually show up on Netflix very often. But then other times you get films that you really fancy watching, that you really want to watch, and they're not there, and that is the downside to it, is that because you don't own them, you're left with the choice of what they want to show you, or what they've got available at the time, and it's not always the choices that you want. Sometimes there's always going to be days where you think, oh, I really fancy that film or that film, and it's not there. So then you've got to go and either, pick something else, which is usually what happens, or you've got to rent it from a different site. I use Amazon quite a bit for renting films. Well, I say quite a bit. On the rare occasions that we do decide that we're actually going to rent a film, Amazon is our usual place that we go to. You get 48 hours to watch the film, and it's actually pretty good. It is actually a pretty good one, the Amazon thing. And yes, there is a bit of a... It's like £3.50 for renting a film, which does seem a little bit steep at times, but I guess, for a new film, that's actually pretty reasonable. And you do get cheaper options as well. And then very often it'll be, well, you can rent it for £3 or £4, or you can buy it for £5 if you want to. And so then we end up buying it because we think, well, if we want to watch it twice, well, there you go. But you get 48 hours to watch the film, and you can watch it as many times as you like. And my kids, they recently rented a film, I can't remember what it was now. Doesn't matter. It was a new film that came out, and they recently rented it, and they had 48 hours to watch it. They knew exactly the time that they first got it, and Angry Birds the movie. It was Angry Birds 2. It's the second Angry Birds movie. That's what it was. And it's a brilliant film. I love that film. We've since bought it because we've watched it so many times and we still haven't gotten fed up with it. So they got it, and they watched it, and they watched it like 6 times. This is what they normally do, is if we rent a film, they will watch it like 6 or 7 times in the 48 hours so they can properly memorize the film, really get their money's worth. I mean, it's absolutely great. It does you proud knowing that they haven't just watched it once and discarded it. No, they know that it's rented and that their time for enjoying that film is absolutely limited, and so they will do their utmost to get the money's worth out of it. And they will watch it 6, 7, maybe 8 or 9 times. Well, then they knew when the film was not going to be available to be watched again. Right? They knew what time it was, that they'd kept a careful, close eye on the time. And they started watching it again. They started all over again 2 minutes before the rent time was up. Because if you start watching it before the rent time is up, you're allowed to watch the film all the way to the end before they take it away from you. They don't snatch it away a few minutes into the film, which is really, really good. It's fantastic of Amazon to do that. So my youngest son, he decided that he wanted to watch this film as much as he possibly could. So we get to the end, almost to the end credits. It didn't even reach the end credits. It was a few minutes before, and he knows exactly what's going to happen on the last couple of seconds. So he kept a close eye on it, and then when it got to the last few minutes, he rewound the film all the way to the beginning. The whole thing, all the way to the beginning. And started again. And because he hadn't actually finished the film and exited and left it, Amazon let him keep watching. And he was thrilled to bits, because he didn't know if it was going to work. So he was absolutely thrilled to bits with this. And he sat there. It was at 2 o'clock in the afternoon that it ran out. And he sat there for the entire afternoon. This was on a Sunday. Sunday is our chill-out day. They don't have to go out and do exercise on a Sunday. They do that on a Saturday. Sunday, they are allowed to just veg out and sit staring at the telly all day, or play on consoles, or anything along those lines, as long as they don't fight. As long as no fighting ensues, they are allowed to do pretty much as they please and just spend a day chilling out, relaxing, and not doing any exercise, any work, and anything at all. And we do pretty much the same. That is our ultimate chill-out day. The least amount of work done as we can humanly get away with. So meals are sandwiches, that sort of thing on a Sunday. Very occasionally we might do something a bit more than that. If my older son is in the mood for doing some cooking on a Sunday, then he might cook us a nice meal. He does like to cook. He's actually considering becoming a professional chef, which is very, very cool. So yeah, that's my Sundays. Is just chill out and do absolutely nothing. And so he did this from, I think it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2, 3, something like that, and he's until just after tea, when they have to start having their baths and stuff like that, and Sunday is officially over. And he kept watching the film. He watched it through. I mean, yeah, in the space of time, I think he was able to watch it 2.5 times, but he did. He watched it all the way through, rewound it, watched it all the way through again, then rewound it and was on his 3rd time through before we had to say, right, you've got to come off of that now. It's time for baths and getting ready for Monday and so on and so forth. And so what he did was he pressed pause, and because the TV that he was using, we've got a TV in our living room, and then we've got Sen has a TV in her room. And so she will usually use that TV. My other son, he doesn't generally like to watch stuff on the TV. He prefers to watch things on his phone. He watches YouTube videos on his phone and talks to his friends with text messages. So he wasn't concerned about it, so he asked if he could just leave it paused, and he did. He left it paused on there, and for 3 days, he left this film paused on Amazon, and just kept coming back to it and watching it over and over again for 3 days. He would watch it after school. He would watch a little bit of it. Whenever he was allowed to watch a little bit of TV, he would watch a bit more of the film, and just the same film over and over again, all on the same rate. Eventually, he said, "Oh, he can turn it off now," and that was 3 days. That was on the Wednesday. He turned it off, and it actually worked. It actually worked. He just left it there, paused on the film, and just kept watching it. And this was all done on one rent on Amazon. I'm guessing they allow it because, yeah, how many people are actually going to do that? How many people are actually going to rent one film and then just spend a week watching that same film without pause, without doing anything? Most people get fed up with it after watching it the first time through. So they're not, it's not something that would normally come up. But I couldn't believe it. It was absolutely amazing. So yeah, you can if you want to. Right, I realise that I have spoken about completely unrelated topics today, nothing whatsoever to do with agriculture, farming, forestry, or anything else. It's all been about television, which I'm supposed to be all about farming here. This is what we're supposed to be about, and I have done no farming related. Are there any more tree stumps here? So what we want to find now is any more tree stumps. There may well be another tree stump or two, and we will end up finding them at some point. But we've gone round and gotten rid of a big chunk of tree stumps. That much we can be proud of. If I zoom back like this, sometimes you can see them in the distance. If you zoom back far enough. I know another way that we can do this. We can go landscaping like that. And then you zoom back like this, and you look over there where the grass is not forming any longer. It does sometimes show a tree stump or two. I don't want to do any sculpting on this. I just want to see if we can get all of the tree stumps out. So I'm not actually doing anything. I'm just using this to view the terrain and see if there is any sign of a tree stump. It's right over in the distance. You can sometimes see them just left behind, because they stay there in view like the shrubs do, longer than the grass does. But I don't see anything there. It's looking pretty good. Don't see anything over there either. Looking up that way. Nope. Right, at the moment I can't see anything. So we'll drive this one back down to the bottom. And then we're going to want to get the tree harvester. We won't keep cutting the trees down there where it is at the moment. We'll leave that for a minute. And instead we will go back over to that clump of trees up there. Those are the ones that we want to get cleared. If we can remove all of those. Let's have a look at the prices. What's happening? Wool is plummeting fast. Eggs are coming up really well. Tempted to try and sell eggs now. Straw still hasn't changed. 66. I'm starting to wonder if it's going to change. I'm starting to wonder if it just stays at 66 permanently, and that's just a thing that it does. Right, I'll bring you back there. And we'll start heading up towards the big clump of trees up there, and we can finally get the last of them, and then we'll be able to get started on ploughing the new field. Alright, that's better. A little bit of a drink. Yeah, that boulder there, I reckon that will be the outside edge of the field. The other boulder up over that end, unfortunately, is going to be right slap bang in the middle of the field, because I'm no longer going to be getting rid of the top bit of it to make way for barns or anything like that. The cows will now be put down the bottom, or be put somewhere more level anyway. Let's open that one up and see if we can get our tree harvester to grab hold of this one here. There we go. And there is the first one. First of many. Actually, it's not that many. Yeah, I'm still open to suggestions for a replacement map. I know I do talk about this a bit, and I don't want people to think that I am fed up with this series, but what I want is when we move to the new series, which really isn't that far away. Now, we're getting this field done here, and money is coming in faster with the sheep and with the chickens, with the eggs that we've now got. We'll be getting money coming in fast with them as well. It's going to mean that we're going to end up getting some pretty good return coming back on that, which means that we will be able to be buying our cows and our pigs at a pretty good rate. We'll be able to get the pens set up, and that means that we will soon reach the victory targets of this series. And so once we reach the victory targets, I want to move on to a new map. And we've now got time, because we know that Farming Simulator 21 is not being released this year, which we did originally think that it was. So we've got a lot more time. Now, I'm pretty sure they said that it's not being released this financial year, which means that we ain't going to see anything until the end of March, beginning of April in 2021. So I suspect that it will be delayed by a year. It'll be summer of 2021 before we see it. So I reckon that we've got another 18 months before we see the next version of the game. That would be my guess. They said they were waiting to see the new consoles and see what the new consoles can do, or something along those lines. So it would be related to the new PS5 and the new Xbox, whichever that is going to be. Next generation consoles. And that's going to be the deciding factor. So there's a lot going to be tied up with that one. So they're obviously looking to the console market, but we kind of figured that they would be doing that anyway. The console market is a very big market. They make a lot of money out of that. So it makes perfect sense for them to want to do that. They want to be able to cash in on that console market as well as they can. I thought that log was going to come right through my windscreen for a minute. That wouldn't have been very good. So if they're wanting to do that, if they're wanting to cash in, look at our farm down there. Look how much that farm has grown. I think it's absolutely brilliant just how much we have accomplished since we've been here. I mean, yeah, we're still living in a caravan, and I would like to be living in a mansion. That maybe we will actually be able to do that before we leave. That's not an essential, but it's something that I would like to try and do. I won't be playing Seasons for Hardcore. I'm still not planning to play Seasons. I do Seasons on the other regular series, and I do Seasons on Time-Lapse. So this series will not include Seasons, not on the new map either. But mostly from what people have said, I think most of you would like a series the way that I have said, and I mean, I said it because it was suggested that that would be a pretty cool way to see it being done, and that I start off as a contractor. I don't own anything, I don't own any land, except maybe one pickup or something like that. And I do work for other people, and I start contracting, and the idea is that I have to own a set quantity of land before we finish, or, yeah, we could say, again, I've got to own a set number of animals. I don't really know what the victory conditions would be. We could have a look at the map before we worry too much about that. But it would be, basically, I would start out contracting. So the idea of the map, I would need to have a map that has, preferably, lots of fields. I kind of like the idea of it being completely the opposite to this. This one is in the wilderness, no fields, no neighbours, no nothing. I like the idea of going onto a map that has lots of fields, lots of neighbours. I mean, we're going to need some neighbours and fields because we're going to need contracting jobs to do. But working for a lot of different people. So whether it would be a lot of small fields to start off with, and the aim is to buy up a load of fields ourselves, and eventually we would make several big fields and get some bigger machinery being able to work on the map. Do you remember Garala in FS19? I really like that map. That was a very cool. We had like over 100 fields there. There were a lot of little tiny fields. Something like that, I think, would be pretty cool. A load of little tiny small fields that we could work with. I mean, there were some issues with that map, with the boundaries not being properly laid out. But besides that, Garala was actually a really, really awesome map. I really enjoyed that map. I really liked it. Just the feel of having all of those small fields everywhere. It gave you a lot of different options and a lot of different choices when you came to doing all of your different tasks and everything. But they also, especially now that we've got landscaping, we could go into a map like that, so long as there's not too much in the way of placeables. One thing that can frustrate like rebuilding a map is where you've got placeable hedgerows and roads and everything put down all over in a network that you can't do anything about. If you haven't got that all over the map, and if you've got it sort of built with just the terrain tools on the maps, you're able to change the face of it a lot better. You're able to do a lot more with it. So yeah, it would allow us then to start off working for a whole load of other people, but we could clear hedgerows if the hedgerows are made out of trees and stuff, and shrubs and that. We could clear the hedgerows, we could make fields bigger, we could build a big yard, something like that. Maybe the victory condition is that we own one of every large tractor there is. Not like a load of mods, but say the victory condition is that we have to own outright, no loan, every single large tractor. And I mean, that could be quite an undertaking, that, because there's a lot of money that would need. I want to have a look at that. I won't be long. I'm just curious. Fully upgraded as well, obviously. We would definitely want fully upgraded with GPS available on all of them, because that adds 15 grand. Biggest engine on there. 300,000 just for the smallest one in there. So if we said 300 for each of those, there's 1.2 million. And then we go up to here. Call those 350. That makes another 1.5 million. That's 2.8 million. And these here, 400,000 apiece. So it's 2.8 million, I said, and then 4.4 million. No, yeah, 4.4 million. And I don't know what options are available on these. Just say another 400 each. Call it 500 each. There's another 2 million. And then another 2 million. And, well, it would just be that one. So, crumbs, you're looking at like $10 million in total to be able to do something like that. That would cost you $10 million just for the base game ones. No mods, nothing, none of the extras at all. You're still looking at close to $10 million to be able to buy all of the large machinery. Or, well, just the large tractors. Nothing else, just buy the large tractors. That could be quite a hardcore task to undertake, and obviously you would need land, you would need sheds to be able to store them, that sort of thing. So that could be an interesting sort of victory condition. You know, if I'm starting off as an agricultural contractor, then, and that's kind of the aim with the new hardcore series, then it would make sense that my ultimate aim is to build up a very large fleet of machinery for doing agricultural contracting. That it would fit quite nicely with the theme of the entire thing. So yeah, that is definitely an option, but I need to have a map that would be suitable for it. And that's got to be the next thing that I got to find. I'm ruling out any 4x16, anything like that. I want a normal-sized map for the Hardcore series. It would have to have lots of fields. I don't want large forestry. Maybe some small forestry areas. I don't want large chunks of the map given over to forestry, because that's not going to make any difference to our contracting. There's no forestry contracts. So forestry is very, very much a backseat on the new one. Forestry has been a sort of primary thing in this series, but forestry in the new series would definitely be a backseat kind of operation. And we may even say that we're not allowed to sell full logs in the new series. Everything we sell has to be sold as wood chips, and that's going to discourage us from doing any unnecessary forestry, because we've got to chip everything up that we do make, and that's obviously a lot more difficult to chip everything up. Yeah, so suggestions for maps. I'm more than happy to go and have a look at a few different maps. I've seen a few. There's one I've been suggested a couple of times. I can't remember what it's called at the moment. Based in Ireland, and a lot of people have suggested that it would be a very, very cool map to use. Right, we've got 4 trees left up here. Not going to do them now because we've run out of time for today's episode. So what I will do is the first thing that we do tomorrow is we will take down the final 4 trees on here. Then we will come up and we will gather up the logs. And then we will come up and once we've sold the logs, we will do the stumps. And we might, hopefully, if everything goes well tomorrow, even be able to get the plow into the ground to start plowing up the field here, which is going to be very exciting. But anyway, we have run out of time for now. So if you've enjoyed the episode, then please head down below and give us a like. And if you really enjoyed it, then please tell your friends all about me. Get them to go and watch as well. That would be awesome. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. This is Frithgar. Goodbye, and see you later.